Hello, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to your practice today. This is Lucy. We'll see how long she sticks around to help us, give us a little help with our Happy Hour Yin Yoga class. Today we're working with release. So if during the day you build up a lot of tension in the space between your knees and your belly, this is from sitting or moving or shifting or being very still for very long periods of time in one stuck position or positioned in one position, then you might want to kind of move this space around. It's also great if you've been having a lot of other people's emotions landing on you and you've been having a lot of reaction to that. There is some theory out there that we store some of our emotional content in our hips. So moving that around kind of helps shake things up, release some of that, and make more space for what we want. These practices are meant to transition you from your work life to your home and personal life and help you transition more smoothly. So all you're going to need today, and these are purely optional, you don't have to have these, is a block and a blanket. They're both kind of for your comfort and support, so having them nearby just in case you might need them for our practice would be helpful. We're going to start in Dragonfly pose. I'm going to take a lateral Dragonfly here. So I like to sit on the edge of a blanket, fold it up so I can get a little bit of lift. You can have your Dragonfly with straight legs or slightly bent legs or very bent legs, putting something underneath those knees. And we're going to go to the right first. So taking that block over to the right, leaning over a little bit toward the right by turning to the left, and you can shift that block to whatever height feels comfortable for you. If you're near the floor, you can always take your hand to the floor if you don't have a block. Resting your head on your hand, and then taking that left hand up and over and draping it over your head, maybe interlacing the fingers if you like that, or just resting that head on the hand on the head. And breathing into the space. Sometimes you'll feel some kind of a pulling sensation or a tight sensation in the lower back. This is also a space we're trying to get into in this pose. Close your eyes and settle into your breath. Think of this pose as that first step into your transition for your personal life, your home life, shifting away from whatever work life or busy world that you had going on the rest of your time. Maybe you find after a few breaths you can shift that block down or out further. Feel free to move it when you think you need to, or stay where you're at. Whenever you feel the muscles of the legs tightening up or the back, just breathe into that space and allow. Your body's been stuck all day. You've had a lot going on. It's going to take a little time to release all of that. Go ahead and take that left hand back alongside your hip and use your right hand to press that side of the head back up to center. Take a couple of breaths here in the middle. If you like to, you can wiggle those toes or rock the knees or shift a little bit side to side. Some people like a little bit of movement. Some people like great stillness after the pose. Shifting that block over to the opposite side, keeping in mind that every side is very different, so you may need this closer or further depending on how you're feeling. Turn your body toward the right, and you're going to lean over to the left, taking that elbow down to the floor, to your leg, resting your head on your hand, and then taking that right arm up and over and draping it over Maybe you shift that block out because you find you need that space. Breathing into that right side body, right lungs, right lower back, right hip space. Starting to take that right hand alongside the hip, press your head back up to center with that left hand. Come straight up and down. You can take that block off to the side. And here we're going to take a little bit of a change here. So if you had your knees bent, go ahead and keep them bent. If you don't have them bent and you have a lot of mobility with straight legs, you can fold forward. I like to change the positioning so that I can fold forward just for a couple of minutes. So you can bend those knees if you find a little bit more emphasis through the hips, and notice where you feel this, what sensations you have and where you feel this. And adjust to find that space that you need to make there. Just a few more breaths here. Gently starting to walk your hands back up, pressing your body up, reaching inside and behind those knees and pulling the feet together. Feet flat to the floor, knees up toward the ceiling, and lean back with your hands behind you. Maybe windshield wiper your knees a little bit side to side, or lift your chest a few times in a little cat-cow here. We're going to move into our next pose. So you don't have to have this blanket if you don't want to for this next pose, or you could use it. We're going to come onto hands and knees. We're going to shift that right knee forward into swan pose. So left leg stretches back behind you, shifting back a little further, turning that right knee out. We're going to come upright for a few breaths. Letting the hips sink and soften, letting that left hip, the front of the hip, soften toward the floor. You can use the blanket for the outside of the right hip or underneath the knee of the left side, or wherever you think you might need that. Just a few more breaths. Starting to walk your hands out in front of you for sleeping swan, resting the hips heavy toward the floor. Coming down to wherever you feel most comfortable, elbows, arms, fingertips, or all the way down to the floor with your forehead on the floor. Each inhale, lengthening out a little bit more, and exhale, allowing everything to soften, let gravity pull you closer. Just 2 more deep breaths. Gently start to walk your hands back in, palms underneath the shoulders, fingers spread. You're going to shift back into downward facing dog, taking the feet back. A very loose downward dog here. Rocking the hips side to side, maybe bending the knees and walking your dog out, shaking your head out yes and no. Spreading the toes wide and shifting on them. And then coming back onto hands and knees. We're going to bring that left knee over to that left wrist. Walk that right leg back. Come up into our swan on our second side. So lifting up. Letting that right hip front drop. Using whatever props you need around you. Just a few more breaths. Letting the hips adjust and gravity pull you wherever it needs to go. And starting to walk your hands out in front of you, coming into sleeping swan, coming down to wherever you need to, forearms all the way down, stretched out flat, whatever feels intuitively okay for you. Inhale and lengthen a little bit, exhale, allow everything to soften and release. Just a few more breaths. Starting to lift up. Take those hands underneath the shoulders, fingers spread, and step back to downward facing dog. Walking the dog out a little bit, bending one knee and then the other, shifting the hips side to side. And then coming down into a super wide knees child's pose. Big toes together, knees super wide like a tadpole pose. Taking the hands, shifting back, Walking the hands out, resting the head on a blanket, a block, or the floor. Slowly lifting up, pressing back up to center, and coming all the way down onto your back. Take our last kind of twist here. So rolling a little bit over onto your left, you're going to take that left leg, the bottom of the leg, back behind you. Grab hold of it using a strap or your fingers. If you can't reach it, that's okay. You don't have to grab onto it. But if you can, pull it back just a little bit behind you. You're going to take that left hand and hang on to that right hip, pulling it over a little bit more. If you don't like that, you can always just rest the foot on the floor, out straight or alongside the other one. Kind of find what works best for you. In cat, pulling its tail. This is a deep twist, so if this is not your favorite, then just loosen everything up a little bit. You don't have to hang on to the feet or the knee. Nice deep breaths. Feeling all the tension in the hips and lower back disappearing. Feeling a little more open in this space. Releasing the emotional charges of the day. Releasing the tension and tightness of the day. Just one more minute here. Gently release whatever hold you have on your legs or knees or feet. Slowly shift yourself over. Take your feet wide, knees together. Hands wherever. Notice how the left side feels in comparison to the right and whatever sensations are coming up in the rebound pose, the pose after the pose. In a lot of these poses, you won't feel a huge amount, or you might not feel a huge amount in the pose itself, but as you come out of it, a lot of things are shifting and changing, and energy is moving back into place. And then preparing for our second side. So go ahead and roll a little bit over to your right this time. You're going to reach back and grab hold of that right foot with that left hand. This side is a little bit harder for me. Using a strap, or you don't even have to grab the foot, you can reach for it instead, just reach back. You can bend that top knee, that left leg, and grab onto that for a little deeper twist, or you can just let it rest on top of the other leg or out to the side. Just about one more minute here. Twisting out all the stress of the day. Last inhale and exhale. Slowly releasing whatever hold you have. Gently rolling over, taking the feet wide, drop the knees together, hands wherever. And then maybe walking the feet out a little bit further if you would like, taking your heels to the corners of the mat, letting those knees drop together, hands on the belly, or on the side, wherever you feel best for Savasana. Taking this time to really focus on the breath. Nice deep inhales and exhale through the mouth. Just letting your inhales and exhales come through your nose. Just feeling everything settling back into space. Feel the release throughout the body, physically and emotionally and mentally. Feel yourself ready for whatever comes in your home or personal life. Ready to enjoy and relax and connect. Maybe even feel a little lightness of being, a smile on your face. This is, after all, happy hour time. If you can spend a little bit more time in Shavasana, please spend as much time as you feel you need to complete this transition and settle. But if this is all the time you have, start to walk the feet closer together, take the arms up overhead, stretch the fingertips, bring the knees into the chest, give them a little squeeze, and then roll over to your right side, very slowly making your way up to whatever seat feels best for you. Bring hands to your heart. Peace and namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this helps you transition from your day life to your night life in an easier, more comfortable way. Feel free to check out the other Happy Hour Yin Yoga practices. I'll be including some more Happy Hour practices that are not just Yin, other. So check those out, and I hope to see you again here soon. If you are looking for more practices and extended practices, then please check out the yogaranger.vhx.tv for a 7-day free trial and hundreds of classes like this and more. Lots of extras on there, live calls, workshops, a monthly calendar, practice calendar, journal prompts, and a little bit more in-depth practices, as well as extended practice up to 90 minutes. So I hope to see you again very soon. Have a great day.